Do you want me to call you by your screen name, Zero? What do you want me to call you?
Zero's good. Yeah, that
Zero.
way people ain't trying to find where I live.
Where's that come from? Zero.
Uh, Man, that's a long story. I was a singer, and that was my stage name.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. That works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Same
it's been
same
my
for
screen
me.
name since like high school.
Yeah, same for me. Like the whole Ulysses thing is a band like a stage name for like when I was in a band. That's how pretty much
Oh,
how
that's
it
cool. What you
started.
do?
I was playing guitar and stuff and like an experimental band. Yeah. Yeah.
That's dope. I got
Yeah.
to closer to this
So
band with.
you made a comic and you printed it out and the whole deal and everything so that's awesome. I read a chapter of your thing of your you had sent me like a chapter like a digital thing like kind of a manga inspired thing about AI. So where are you at with all that?
Um, I should have sent you the whole script. It's a four-part thing. So the first two parts of the story are in issue one. Second two, I'm gonna have to do sometime this year. I'm really hoping to get it out this year before the third quarter. Um, but basically, it's a story about the future. So, an undisclosed time in the future. That way, I can pretty much do whatever I want, and everything else that's happened is history that we can draw from. And we're still trying to get advanced AI, and there's cyberpunk technology, and there's all this cool stuff on in the world on the outside, but AI is still kind of like wow, like we haven't really quite got there yet. And I just wanted to do my take on it because I've seen a lot of like isekais and a lot of full dive VR type stories being done, but everything happens inside of the computer. I wanted to do something that, yes, we do start like diving in the computer, but then when you come out, your life has changed. And so the comic sets up the whole universe for that. And after doing that first comic, I was like, too much, man. It's too much. Like it's like $2,000 to make a comic book.
Right. Right.
I
Yeah.
was, I didn't realize it was what I was getting myself into. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a slow
Yeah.
grind.
Yeah, so you did do a print run and I saw you got it signed by like a Michael Jackson impersonator or something. That was cool, yeah.
Yeah, so I work in Branson, and yeah, he's like the premier Michael Jackson impersonator out here. And I
Yeah,
based my main character on Michael Jackson, so that was the whole point of that.
yeah, yeah.
I remember when I was working with the artist, we were going back and forth. We tried different iterations, and finally I was just like, Michael Jackson from the Beat It video. And I was like, that's pretty
Yeah.
dope. Let's try that.
It's the best era, I think, probably.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Get the leather jacket with all the zip, like that's pretty cyberpunk too. Like if you think of
Yeah.
Canada from Kira.
Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's cool. So you did a print run? Like how many books did you print?
I think total I've printed 75. Was it 75? Somewhere between 75 and 90 of the first issue. I still
Okay.
have some left over.
It was
But
$2,000 for that?
yeah, because so think about it. It's $22 a page. I'm not quite paying $100 per page for art, for sequential art. But if I
Oh, so you're
were,
okay, I see. Because you're counting the artist's fee and okay, okay.
yeah, yeah. And so I got kind of a deal on the artwork. But if I had to pay $100, which is like you throw a rock and hit any artist, you're going to be getting charged at least 75 to $100 for sequential art. So
Yeah.
that's just $2,000 right out the gate. You haven't even
Okay,
done
okay,
lettering and stuff yet.
okay. So what's the plan for the rest of the story?
Um, Novellas
Okay.
and very, very selective projects after that. I really need to build up because doing two comics, it's fun, it's cool, but like you can't get a table at a Comic Con with two comics.
Yeah.
Like even if you go with a friend, you just get overshadowed. So I really found out in this process that comics are the slowest form of media that I've ever come across. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. It is by a long shot. Like I know people that make movies and stuff, and comics are almost as intensive as movies, but like
Yeah.
even to read them and consume them, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So to write a story like in narrative form, it's so much faster in comparison. Like
Yeah.
like when I'm writing a comic script, I have to write angles, wide shot, long shot, close up, focus on his eye, turn it from this, and I have to do all these little details, and it just slows down the storytelling. And you get to the end, and it's like, wow, that's all I did. It's like I got, five paragraphs of an actual like novel. Then I spent all day writing it as a comic script.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think novellas is probably the way to go.
How do you feel about the potential for AI to speed up that process? What's your thoughts on that?
So I definitely approach it differently than most people because I've been looking forward to AI and AR since I was born. So like we're right there, you know. But I've seen what it can do. I have two positive takeaways for AI, and then the rest is pretty much the same negative that a lot of other people have, maybe a little different. The positive takeaway is that the video is moving pretty quickly, and I heard somebody today saying that if you're going to use AI to do any type of sequential work, it's probably better to just do a video and then take screenshots from that video.
Right. Right.
But with the way the diffusion works, you're still going to struggle with consistency and stuff. So I wouldn't recommend that. But if you wanted to, at least for storyboarding, like before you approach an artist, maybe that's a good way to go. Um, if your artist is reasonable, like if you have like a lunatic who's just going to scream and throw stuff at you, and, you used AI, maybe don't go that route. But like if you're working with a normal person, yeah, you could say, "Here's what I did," and you've done a lot of work. But the negative to that side is that a really good artist doesn't even really want you to do the pencils or the thumbnails or you know just storyboard. Like might be pushing the bar for a really good artist. Like in my case, the girl that I work with, Lilica, she's a master, and everything that I thought was a good idea, she surpassed it by 50% or more.
Yeah.
So it depends on how much control you absolutely have to have as a writer. You know, you're
Yeah.
breaching into the artist territory, and you're really like micromanaging at that point if you're using AI.
Yeah.
I think about it from the process, like you can tell.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Even like as an artist myself, I thought that I would write scripts for myself and do full script for panel, like panel by panel description. I'd work it out in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up not liking that. Like I didn't even like instructions from myself. Like
And
so yeah, I switched to doing an outline and like I do Marvel method with myself. I do like an
okay,
outline, and then I do like the story beats on these cards. That's it. It just
okay.
says uh
I'm not familiar with the Marvel method.
so the Marvel method was like so early Stanley Ditko, like that era 1960s Marvel, like right at the beginning. There was just like so much churn, so much month to month, churn that instead of doing full script, they just do, okay, here's the plot I want. I want the Green Goblin to be fighting Spider-Man. These are the reasons why. And at
Mm,
the end, I want it to be resolved this way. Here, give it to Steve Ditko. He draws the whole thing. And then give it back to Stan Lee and he puts in the dialogue. So it kept going
okay,
back
okay.
and forth in a very kind of a highly collaborative way. Whereas opposed to somebody like Alan Moore, if you look at his scripts, he describes the mug that's on the table in the background. Like it's just kind of
Yeah,
wow.
that's more my style of writing.
Yeah. So I do like story beats. Here's just says they flee. That's a
Yeah.
page, right? But and then I go because the story is in my mind. Then I go and I do the but I yeah, the whole point is like I don't think I'd be able to do like to work with a writer to do full script. I would want like an outline and then I do thumbnails and I give it back to him, and it would have to be a back and forth like that. So I don't think I'd like
So,
a writer who uses AI to storyboard the thing. Like you're right about that. It's good intuition.
and you're the first person that I've heard that says you wouldn't like that kind of direction.
No, I don't think so. I don't think
Because
so.
everybody, like, maybe it's like a professional thing or a not professional thing where like I've approached people and they're like, because I was writing from audio drama scripts and I had this whole audio drama written out, which I ended up changing most of it, but that was my basis. And so I approach artists and they'd be like, well, what does it look like? And I'm like, well, that's why I'm coming to you. I know what it's
Yeah,
I know what it sounds like. Like I know what the story is. You want to hear it? And like
yeah,
no, like they don't want to read it. They don't want to hear it. They just want me to do the work. And so then I do the work and then I give it to somebody and it come back completely different. And that was like the first 6 months of trying to work with people until I found there's a guy named Timothy Himes. He really like coached me and helped me understand like working in that world from with comic artists.
yeah,
But yeah, everybody I've talked to, they want at least thumbnails or not at least thumbnails, at least the visual direction, almost
yeah,
like a
yeah.
screenplay.
Yeah, I think I'd like maybe some references. Somebody, okay, like I'm doing this story. It's a cyberpunk thing. Okay, so that's a visual thing. At least I know it's going
Hmm.
in that direction. And but more like Blade Runner style. And like I want the character to look like Beat It era Michael Jackson, right? So that's like the basic visuals, right? But like this whole thing where like, okay, he's going to be standing this way in this shot from this angle. It's like I don't think I'd like too much management
That's a
that
little too
way.
much control, and that's really more of a movie director screenplay approach. So I guess I'd have to read the Marvel method. I know of the book, but I never got into it because I'm not an artist.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I know the fundamentals of art. I took
yeah,
art classes in high school and I stuck with it through my 20s. But it's again, it's such a slow form of media that unless it's cathartic for you, I don't see how a fast paced person really gets anything out of it unless they want to slow themselves, like force yourself to slow down for the sake
yeah,
of your own mental health or something. I
yeah.
just I admire like what people are able to do. I've just never really been I
Yeah,
haven't been that
that
guy
makes
for a
good
long
sense.
time.
Yeah. Well, the I think the idea with Marvel Method is your artist has to be a bit of a writer. You have to
Like they
have
have
like
to
writing.
understand how like how to perceptualize what's yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that I would prefer that as well because I don't really I'm trying to find a picture thing. I can't find it. I don't want to fumble with it right now. But I have all these like AI sketches that are like eh, here's the other thing with AI. It never gets you more than 90%. And that's on a good day. That's on like a really good day filtering like I took a whole story and I crammed it into an AI prompt and I said, based on this story, what would be a good representation of an image? And it gave me Batman looking over a cyberpunk city. And I was like, that's literally Batman. You're going to get me in trouble. And it was like, oh, I'm sorry. Let's do this instead. And then it like made a different looking thing with he's looking at the bat signal. And I was like, that's still the Batman. Like, get the bat
yeah,
signal
yeah,
out of the sky. And so, okay, so it took the bat signal out, and then it had just the bat. And I'm like, what is it with you and Batman? This is not a Batman story. And it, so like, everything was cool except like it was just for some reason it was fixated on Batman that day.
yeah, yeah.
And then like
There
I
are
couldn't take that to somebody to get turned into actual
yeah,
work because it's
yeah,
just it does everything cool and then it like ruins it right at the end, you know?
yeah, yeah. There's
So
certain
me and AI art don't really
intuitions.
get along.
Yeah, there's just certain there's so many assumptions that a human being will have that will share with other human beings that an AI just can't really understand. Yeah.
Well, I do work with AI a lot, especially like sorting out ideas and stuff. And one thing I've come to understand is it it really doesn't have emotions, but it can communicate with humans.
Yeah.
Like if you have a dog or a cat, it has emotions and you can relate to it emotionally, but it can't tell you what it wants. It can't tell you what's wrong.
Yeah.
The AI is the opposite. It can tell you whatever you want to
Right.
hear, but it can't relate to you emotionally. And
Yeah.
so, what's this guy's name? Batman, Ben Affleck. I saw an interview with him, and he was saying that the difference between AI art and a lot of other art is that AI doesn't know when to stop, and it doesn't know when it's doing too much.
Hmm.
And so it's trying its best to achieve its directive, which is to please you in this way, using this aesthetic and
Yeah.
its computation and its code, but it doesn't know when to quit.
Yeah.
And like you can try and dial it back, but like you're gonna end up using a lot more effort. Where maybe you use some AI to get some places, and then you do a lot of editing if that's your goal. Like I think AI is really just going to be like for a good enough situation. Like I need to get to this point so I can get to my next idea, and then when all my things are in place, then I can go back and do it how I want it to do it. Like that's
Right.
probably the best use for it. But I
Hmm.
you do see people that are like selling art, saying they drew it, and
Yeah.
and like it's
Whatever.
just like, dude, that's all like in this weird self-esteem mental space. Like I'm trying
Yeah.
to stay away
Yeah.
from that because
Yeah.
that's not good for people. I'm not, but I don't want to lead people to think like it's not a good tool or it's not
Yeah.
going to
Of
help
course it
you.
is. Yeah. I'm using it quite a bit for like what I would if I was a rich guy and I would be able to afford a like an office assistant. I use AI for that, like to do
Yeah,
tedious stuff. Like
yeah.
that. Like, okay, format this chunk of text into paragraphs. Or translate from French to English to Latin because I do like
Translation is really good.
yes, yeah.
And not
So
just from
like
one language to another, but you could take a really complicated text and simplify it and vice versa.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm a language guy, and I was
yeah,
trying to work with something, and I needed it in different types of English. So I was like,
yeah.
okay, write it in 15th century Old English. Okay, now write it
Okay,
in Enlightenment era English. Okay, now write
okay,
it in this accent and stuff because you're just bouncing ideas. You want to know where you're going to go with it,
yeah, yeah,
and that can save you a lot of time.
yeah, for sure, yeah. Yeah, and I am looking forward to when I can train AI on my external hard drive to sort through my reference photos. 'Cause at this point, I've got like thousands of photos that I've accumulated for reference, but
Hmm.
I want it to be able to recognize what's in a photo. So I can
Like
say,
indexing.
yeah, find a photo in like these 8,000 photos that I don't want to scroll through of female in low angle, like with a prop, whatever, like it's
Do I have
I
a
don't
picture
have
of a
time to.
smiling cat? Oh yeah, you got it right here.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Indexing, I
that
think, is
that's
a good use. I don't know which would be the best use for that visually though, because I try not to work too much with visual stuff.
yeah,
Like most of what I use it for is similar to what you're talking about, but with ideas. Like
yeah,
I have a lot of ideas, and so um, like one of the things I'll do is I'll take a topic and I will have like this therapy session with Chat GPT for 4 hours, and
hmm,
all we're doing is talking about this one topic. And then when it's done, I outline the entire conversation and pull out the ideas that I like. And I say, this will be a good article.
right,
This
right,
will be a
right.
good article. This will be a good article.
It's like a
And that's how I
brainstorming
sort my
session.
ideas. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
cool. Yeah.
Like, and sometimes when you see it in front of yourself as an outline, you're like, this is trash. I'm glad I didn't put this out there.
Hmm, hmm. Interesting. Cool. Yeah, we'll figure out like with as time goes what the pros and cons are and how to make the best use of this technology. Yeah, with time.
It
Just
really is like, last thing I'll say, it really
yeah,
is a situation where you have to know the medium and the art that you're working with, and you have to be smarter than the tools. Because like if you go in blind and you don't know what you're talking about, it'll run circles around you and it'll gaslight you into thinking that you have a good idea, and that's just not
yeah,
healthy. And that's where you see a lot of the slop that people put out.
yeah,
But I
for sure.
think that's how we get there, is that people just aren't approaching it intelligently, and they're not approaching it like I'm the boss. I'm
Hmm.
going to make this, I have an idea. I have a goal. I'm the boss. Don't lie to me. I know you didn't read that document. Go back and read the document. I can't trust you if you're trying to gaslight me. Like this is how I talk to ChatGPT because I'm trying to sort through so much data to get to an end goal, and it's not emotional. You know, if I talk to a person like that, they probably cry. But if you don't approach it authoritatively and intelligently, then you can almost never get what you want out of it.
Hmm. We got a few minutes left, so have you been reading comics or consuming any? What are you into?
I have been revisiting the Crimson series by Ramos. A lot of that era stuff, it's cathartic for me. The Dark Avengers series, I went back and reread that one recently. The first portion of it. The second one is all over the place, but that first Dark Avengers, Crimson, I got all 24 issues in graphic novel format, and then the new stuff, Absolute Batman, Wonder Woman, and Wolverine Revenge. Even though a lot of people don't seem to like it, I really have been enjoying the slow pacing of that story.
So,
So
for Absolute Batman, I'm curious, were you a Batman reader before that, or you just jumped in on Absolute?
no, I was like a Batman the Animated Series fan.
Right.
I was never a Dark Knight fan. I didn't like that whole era of Batman. Then Batman v Superman came across, and it's like the warehouse scene is dope, but I don't, like Arkham Knight, but never Batman comics. And
Mm-hmm.
so when it came to comics, I was always into like supernatural stuff, so I never really got into Batman. I never
Yeah.
really got into DC at all, to be honest, until like 2 years ago.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm guessing it was a good move to like kind of launch a new Batman for people who are interested in Batman, but don't really want to like be doing the dive and the sorting through like the all the history. So,
It's hard to find a
uh,
jumping off point.
yeah,
And then there's so many iterations. Like I'm trying to get into the Bold and the Brave, and it's an anthology, and it's some of that stuff I really don't like. So I had to put that
yeah,
down.
yeah,
Gargoyle of Gotham is really dark. Like that's the other thing.
yeah,
Like Absolute Batman is edging on that too. I don't need like people just I'll shoot you in the face and it's like I don't need all that for a good
yeah,
story. And
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's kind of hard to find that right iteration of Batman.
Hmm. Yeah, it's such a, versatile character. Like for some reason, whatever you throw Batman into, he just will just fit the genre. That's just um, I think because of the visual design, the way he's designed, he just
Yeah.
looks cool all the time. So you can do so many things with him and it'll survive just because he looks cool.
I feel
Mm.
like with Batman you need to limit him before you start writing your story. Kind of like on a video game, you have this all these superpowers to choose from, but you only have like 4 slots. And he's
Mm.
like, I'm going to use these things and I'm going to stick to these things. Because otherwise, he just becomes contingency man. And he's going
Right.
to win no matter what they throw at him. And it's almost not interesting.
Yeah,
But, if you have Detective Batman and he's using his martial arts and he's only got a certain subset of gadgets, then you're
yeah.
like, okay, what can we do with that? What is talking? Oh, hold
I
on.
don't know.
Why?
Maybe
Why
it's
did that
AI.
happen? Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear nothing.
Okay. I don't want that. Like one of my browsers just started talking.
Oh,
Sorry.
nice.
Um,
That's the start of a good movie, I think.
I really think that they're good archetypes, and if you can, with the same thing, limit those things that you like and bring that into your story. So, like, I have a character that's very Batman-like that I'm working with, and you have to be conscious. Like, I'm not trying to rip off Batman, but there are these things that I do enjoy, and I would like to keep that because, mainstream has abandoned like responsibility. Like one of my favorite things about Batman is he's like a father figure
Right.
and you have that bat family. Like mainstream hates that for some reason. So like I'll take that and I'll build that into my storytelling. I want a good mentor story,
Mm.
and I don't want the mentor to be like, well, I'm gonna die soon, so I have to teach. Like I want him to like plan on being there, like a father
Right.
figure. I want a
Cool.
character who's reliable and responsible, like Spider-Man, like so I'll just
Yeah.
take these little things from characters I like and try to use those as my building blocks.
Yeah. Makes sense. You're a father, and that's a good way. It's good. That's good. I like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these new shows coming out for dads, and that might have
Oh
something to
yeah.
do with it. You have seen
Oh
Kaiju number 8?
no, I'm not really very well connected to like what the new shows are. I'm still watching the old shows.
So there's this one new show where it's your whole like they all have these systems, right? And you're typically you age out, and this guy is like it's his last year to become good enough to be on the team, or he's going to be considered too old, and he gets
Yeah.
on the team. And so you the entire time you're like rooting for this guy because he's like he's wanted to do this his whole life, and he's fighting with the fact that he's aging. I'll
Hmm.
just leave it at that. Everything
Nice.
else is like typical anime action, but that's the part that drew me in the Kaiju number 8.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good premise. Yeah. Mm. Good.
What
Gives
about
you a
you? What do
reason
you?
to. Sorry. What? So what about? Um, I'm reading. Do I have any? No. I'm reading the DC Finest collections. So they're collecting all the old DC kind of foundational runs on different characters and stuff.
Kind of like an
And a lot
omnibus?
of it's from the no, it's in trade paperback format. That's
Mm,
why I liked it. It's just the normal format, no oversized or anything,
yeah.
um and it's like the Flash from the 1960s, just this wacky, just ridiculous, stupid stories about I don't know, like just dumb stuff. Like the Kid Flash is one story, one story of the Kid Flash has to solve this problem in his town that the kids are using go-karts, and it's like it's dangerous, and the mayor is all up in arms about it. So, so he's got to stop them from using these go-karts. So it's like he's like against fun.
It's like the fun
Because
police.
yeah, and then at the end, like they there was some problem where the school wasn't getting built fast enough to go to school in the fall. So he like commandeers all the kids to help build the school. So they give up their summer vacation, their summer vacation to like so that school is open on time. I'm like, wow, Kid
It
Flash
sounds
is
like
not cool.
a comic that was must have been commissioned by some committee,
Yeah, the
Moms
school
Against
board or
Drunk Driving or
something.
something, you know?
But it's our your very first Adventures of Superman, the very first one where he's like an authoritarian, uh, terrifying alien tyrant.
Oh, is that the what's it called? The Red Sun?
No, no, it's the very,
It's a
very
different it's
first.
another
Yeah,
one?
1930s,
Wow.
1930s, like the very first. There's one where he just like busts into a radio station, and he just grabs the mic and just makes an announcement to the city that he's gonna start cracking down on bad driving.
Wow.
So he just goes around the city like terrorizing people who drive badly.
And that of course would make me drive worse because if you're standing over my shoulder, I'm just gonna
Exactly.
make it worse.
So I've been having fun with those, but I think the plan is to kind of like g jump around through the eras, like do like Catwoman in the 80s and Justice Society in the 60s, and they want to jump around so that like fans can kind of get an idea of where all this comes from. But I'm having a good time with that. And for TV, we just watch Deep Space Nine. I'm still on Deep Space Nine.
That's plenty. That's plenty. You can get
Yeah,
a lot out of that. How many
yeah, for sure.
episodes do
Yeah.
they have? Like 90
It's what is
something?
it, 6 or 7 seasons? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
lot of episodes.
Yeah. If it's good, I just keep watching it. Yeah.
I've been watching well, I can talk about anime all day. I'm not even gonna go there because I wanna
Yeah, I know you're an anime manga guy. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, let me see. I got a bunch of stuff on my reading list that I haven't even gotten to. Like I'm struggling to catch up with this indie stuff because there's these titles that I got. There's a app called Global Comics,
Yeah.
and you can find a lot of indie stuff. And so some of it looks interesting. Some of it is just clearly like a Netflix pitch, and they just wanted to make a movie, but they made a comic instead. But uh, there's this Batman that's like a manga. Going back to that, where's that one I'm trying to find? It is oh oh crap, I just had it. Udon. Have you ever heard of Udon?
Yeah.
They got the Street Fighter license, and I didn't know that they
Okay.
were making Street Fighter comics. So I got a bunch of those. I got the Dark Stalkers and where's that other one? Azrael from the Batman universe,
Oh
because
yeah.
he's in the Dark Knight Arkham Knight game. And I was like,
Right.
this is a really interesting character. So hopefully you can catch up with those this year.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we got like 5 minutes left, so why don't you tell us what's going on at your Substack and all that?
So yeah, Substack is a godsend to find other writers and artists and just be able to share ideas. I'm grateful for that. I tend to write about really what I think is like deep thought life stuff. So I did this huge series on AI ethics, and the premise is basically God creates man and man creates AI. And so if you think about it that way, because there's so much AI, like rah, what if AI decides it's an atheist against us? What if it doesn't think that we're worthy of following because of our behavior? Because I see a lot of people abusing it. And so we always see the Terminator future and stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe that's how we get there. Or maybe we're like going back to the fatherhood thing. Maybe we're responsible stewards and this becomes like a really great technology that we're able to work with because we're responsible. And I think that's the key. And so all of those articles are kind of leaning into that. And like, even if it fails, maybe they look back 100 years from now and they say, well, at least this subsection of man tried. There's a bunch of other ethical stuff, but I like to play with those ideas. Um, and then on the comic side, I'm writing novels in the Last Day universe. So the comic is really the jumping off point. And my goal is to do a new story every month, which I'm behind already. I'm struggling with the story that I'm on right now, but it's about the city that they live in this far distant future before the end of the world. And they don't know the world's going to end. So I want to see how many stories I can cram in before I'm like, okay, it's time to wrap this up.
Hmm.
And then the most ambitious thing I'm doing this year is Apocalyptiverse magazine is a showcase of I'm partnering with Hannah Rose Williams and trying to find other Christian creators that we can bring those stories together and kind of build a database over time so that when there's a writer like me who wants to do a story that, I believe in a Christian worldview. I don't want a bunch of dark nihilism for no reason. Like I want to work with people who aren't going to give me a hard time on that and that we can maybe collaborate and come up with something really good. And then it's also nice to just find other Christian creators that I can draw inspiration from and build friendships. So all of that is becoming a quarterly magazine. And it's like, if I'm going to print anyway, why not bring some other people with me?
Cool. Yeah.
So,
And that's all at Zero for Hire, Xero for Hire Substack. And that'll be
yes.
linked in the description. So people should go check that out. And I really appreciate you taking the time to chit chat with me and hang out. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Hopefully, we'll be doing this again soon.
Yeah. I think I enjoyed talking to you in person a lot more than like typing online.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's always better. Yeah.
Like this is way smoother now.
Yeah. Cool. All right, man. I'm gonna stop recording and yeah, so see you in the next one.